Alright, ladies and gentlemen, we are back with some more Scythe 2, and I'm here with my good pal, Klaesick. How you doing, my friend?
Who are you and why are you in my house?
Oh, I'm playing Dune. Or Doom, rather. I've been watching Dune, but I'm playing Doom. And I'm like 1,200 some miles away from you, actually. If there's someone in your house who looks like me, you should probably call the police.
Fair enough. Well, anyway, how are you doing?
I'm doing pretty
I'm
good.
doing pretty good myself.
Awesome.
I have Dr. Pepper here in my room at 9:01 p.m. at night. So
The gentleman's soda pop. That's very
yes,
nice. Oh yeah, that's right. Colorado's on mountain time. I keep forgetting that.
yeah,
It's weird because you're just north of Arizona, and I know that Arizona is on Pacific time, which is kind of unusual. But
we are sort of weird in the fact that we can get as hot as Arizona, but we can get about as cold as Montana. Is how I'd describe it.
yeah, it's pretty crazy. I mean, I remember that living in New Mexico. Is like summers were just absolutely miserable, but the winters were crazy, crazy cold too. Like I can remember one winter where it was like below zero for like a week. It was nuts.
Dang.
Anyway, so yeah, we're back with Scythe 2, and this is, I think the industrial episode, which is, where Scythe 2 starts to get a little dark. It was kind of lighthearted for the past two ones. This is where I think it gets a little bit more serious. Of course not.
I'm edgy.
Oh, yeah.
Ironically, I hate most edgy characters because it's just like, like Shadow or like Vegeta kind of.
How
I don't really like them. I don't know how are they appealing? Explain the appeal because I don't get it. It's just like, I'm so sad and edgy. I have a dark backstory that makes me angry. And I'm just like, okay.
how dare you insult my boy Shadow? How dare you? I'm just kidding. I do not care.
I think for me, it's because they take themselves way too seriously, and it's just like, way too easy of a parody.
Oh yeah, absolutely. They're very easy to make fun of. It's kind of like the emo. Oh shit. It's kind of like the emo kids in high school who are just like, oh, I'm so sad and everything in the world is terrible, and I'm like, yeah, wait till you have to go and pay rent. Like, I understand you might have depression, but life is not so bad, all things considered.
Yeah.
That said, if you're a teenager and you're depressed, there is resources. Go to therapy. It's a good thing, all things considered.
I do like a few edgy characters. Only a few. Caleb from Blood and Batman.
Oh, sure.
I don't exactly know why I like Batman all too much, even though I've liked him since I was a kid. I can't really pin down why I still like Batman. But with Caleb, it's because it's not that he's like sulking. He's just kind of insane.
Oh, sure.
And he like laughs and stuff.
He's corny in kind of a campy horror movie kind of way.
Yeah, he still has tragedy, but he's not like reveling. He's not like sad about the fact that he's a ultra violent, sadistic anti-hero.
Oh yeah.
He's not like, oh, I'm so sad about being dark and depressing, even though I do it all the time.
Yeah, it's definitely one of those things where I feel like for edgy characters, you can go one of two ways to make them work. You can either make them totally corny and kind of poke fun at the fact that they are so very edgy, or you can really give them a proper kind of tragic backstory and also make them human. So it's like there's more to their personality than just being edgy, so to speak. And I think that's why Batman
Yeah.
works, is because he has multiple personas. He's kind of, by day, kind of
He's
the
also not really an anti-hero.
oh
So,
yeah.
um, I think it's also because Batman's such a malleable character. You can make Batman basically anything, and it's still Batman because he's been around for like 80 years.
Oh
My
yeah.
least favorite adaptations of Batman are like the edgiest ones, like Dark Knight Returns, where he's just like, you know, where they're just like, oh, he's insane and he's no different from the criminals or whatever, except that he fights crime. And I was like, yeah, I guess, but that's kind of the Punisher.
Oh
I
yeah.
don't think Darker Batman is interesting because they just try to make him Punisher, except that he doesn't kill people for whatever stupid reason the writers come up with.
I don't know.
Um, I hate the Punisher, by the way. I hate the Punisher.
Oh, I got you. I know very little about comic book characters, but I'll take your word for it. But
Yeah.
no, yeah, I mean, you can have tragedy and edge, but you also have to have something else in the character which makes them interesting or compelling or shows their humanity in some way.
Agreed.
I'm trying to think of like a good example that I can think of from like movies or something. I'm kind of coming up short, all things considered. I guess Spike Spiegel, kind of, though he's kind of a jokey character in Cowboy Bebop. Even though he has tragedy, he can be profoundly sad and profoundly kind of like, very, I guess, cynical in how he looks at the world. But when you know his backstory, you get it. Like, you know why he's that way. It's because he lost the love of his life, and he's been betrayed by the Syndicate, which he put all of his identity and trust in, and he doesn't even know if his love is alive. By the way, do you know what I'm talking about? Have you ever seen Cowboy Bebop by any chance?
I have heard of Cowboy Bebop, but I haven't. I don't really know what it's about. I think it's space related.
Yes, it's.
I
Let me try to sell you on Cowboy Bebop. I am not an anime guy. I don't consider myself an anime fan at all. It's not something I watch a lot. I've been watching more because my girlfriend's really into it. She's a bit of a weeaboo. It's one of the only anime I've ever seen, and it's legitimately one of my favorite pieces of media. It's so good. It's so artfully put together, so well directed. The music, the visuals, the animation. Like we had that podcast a few weeks ago about animation, and like that's the best one to me, in my opinion. It's really, really, really good.
I have a strange relationship with anime as a whole, I'd say. Surprisingly enough, I actually started disliking it because of how much people, like, how I've seen almost kind of like liked it or put it on the pedestal. Back when I was kind of younger, it's just like, I didn't get the hype, and I still don't really get the hype, but now it's just like, hey, you like whatever you want. I don't really care about anime. I don't think it's as special or as grand as people say it is, because people are only really comparing, let's say, quote unquote Western animation, which they're really just talking about American animation.
Oh, sure.
Comparing it to Japanese animation. Although the one thing I still hate about what anime did is it made people think anime is a style. Yeah. It's not. It's just animation made in Japan that we gave a funny name.
Oh, sure, yeah. It's a more than anything else. I think it is.
Oh, I hate it when people call Avatar anime. For example, I hate that. Anybody who says that, I'd rip your throat out.
Yeah, well, it's a region that certain kinds of animation comes from. I mean, that's how I think I would define anime. So it's like, I wouldn't consider like the Castlevania show on Netflix, for example, an anime, because even though that's a very anime kind of style, it's not made from Japanese culture. It doesn't have a Japanese dub. I mean, I'm sure it does, but it's not the original. But not that it matters. It's just another way for media.
It wasn't made by Japanese people in Japan, basically.
Precisely. But no, I'm of the same mind. I'm largely indifferent to anime as a mode of animation, so to speak, but there can be some interesting ideas that come from that culture in that region, so to speak. So, yeah.
Yeah. I'm
Also,
like not totally just discarding like Japanese culture because people like it.
oh yeah.
I'd like and I still like some anime. Do you kind of like it in an interesting way? I really connected with it because of I joined a community a few years ago through Dragon Ball What If videos out of all things, and I kind of like it in a weird way, almost like in a so bad it's good way.
Oh
I
yeah.
don't take it too seriously because it's more just a fun old time rather than, you know,
Well, it's so
pretentious
over.
people saying, this is so deep." Like, yeah, okay.
You sound. I'm sorry. You sounded like Cartman just there. It's like, bruh, this is sad, dude.
You stand it.
It's like a combination of
I did a
Cartman
good
and
job
Trump.
then because that's how I kind of think of. That's how I think of. Not all anime fans, of course, but like you know the subset I'm talking about.
Oh yeah,
I think most people here know this particular subset I'm talking about.
the weeaboos, the
You're
weeaboos.
just too dumb to understand the show. It, it's like those Rick and Morty fans
I was
too, where you're just
about
like
to
you're just
say
not
that.
intelligent enough to understand
I
Rick and
was
Morty, and I'm just like,
I was
bro,
literally
what the fuck?
about to say that, and you stole the words out of my mouth. But I don't mind because you're 100% correct. It's like the people who think that, you know, Justin Roiland and the other guy who wrote it are
Yeah,
like on the moon.
I'm glad we have the same mind.
I never. All right, so a little tangent here. I never understood the appeal, even when it was like at the peak of its popularity in like 2017, 2018. I never got it. I was like, this is just Simpsons, but less funny and more cynical. And I'm listen.
That's how I kind of describe it, actually.
Yeah, it's like less humor that's less insightful and fun, and it's also more hopeless. It's like less fun to watch because you just feel disgusting as a human being. It's just like, I don't like this. This is not fun.
I feel like it's I feel like with the show itself, from what I've seen, it's not smart or even that philosophical.
Oh no.
It just kind of pretends it is.
Yes.
Or at least the audience thinks it is. Like the writers probably don't even care because they're not even doing like connected stories anymore. It's probably the fans' fault more than the writers' fault because I don't think they were aiming to write like Back to the Future mixed with Simpsons, but it's all philosophical. They're just like, oh, look how edgy this is.
I think it's one. Yeah, I think
I
it's
don't
one of
mind
those
Rick and Morty.
cases- I guess so. I guess it really is one of those cases where a middling TV show has kind of been ruined in part by its fan base, but even independent of its fan base, I've never really cared for it that much. I think it's considered.
Mm-hmm.
We're
I watched another video about why American adult animation tends to be so childish, where it's just like, oh, they just put a lot of edgy humor in it instead of, and they think that's adult, which only furthers the stereotype that like animation is for kids. It's either like, and now it's like either stereotype is when you hear adult animation, you don't think like, oh, it's just happens to be animated. It's more like, oh, you think of Rick and Morty, you think of like South Park and stuff.
yeah.
Where it's just like, oh yeah, it's stupid comedy, almost degenerate. I would say degenerate is a bit of a weird word, but
Well, and
I'd
blatantly
say that's the best word.
kind of inappropriate and kind of lowbrow, immature humor, so to speak.
Yeah. Whereas adult animation, just like live action, can be literally anything.
Oh yeah,
Like
totally.
that's how I think people should think about animation. It's not a genre, or like even with anime, it's a medium. Like you wouldn't call live action. Nobody in their right mind would call live action a genre. Like these are the tropes of live action. You know, live action has a certain style. Like, no. Stanley Kubrick's Shining is very different from like an Adam Sandler comedy, for example. It's just they both happen to be in live action.
That's
You know?
that's the understatement of the century, I think, all things considered. Yeah.
Yeah. I think people kind of know that animation isn't a genre, but at the same time they don't know. It's a bit weird.
Yeah, no, totally.
I feel like we're sort of in limbo of what people think animation is and isn't, or what it should and shouldn't be.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I just know I like what I like. I'm not I'm sorry, I'm not a very philosophical type. Ooh, monsters. I love monsters in 2.
Monsters.
Mansters are fun, especially when you have the BFG.
Moncubus.
Also, hang on a sec. I think I recognize this MIDI. 1 second. I haven't listened to this or played this before. Oh, yeah! Oh, heck yeah! Oh my god, I didn't even realize. Okay, this is, I want to say this is Wily Stage 1 from Mega Man X, which is like one of my favorite games of all time. Oh man, that's so cool! Man, Eric Holm, I'm kind of middling on this WAD if I'm being honest, but Eric Holm has some good taste in music, man. This is good stuff.
Yeah.
I honestly like Mega Man X is like legitimately one of my favorite like games ever. It's so good.
I haven't played a lot of Mega Man X, but I have seen other people play it.
Ooh, hey, we're gonna play Mario at some point. We could totally play Mega Man X if you're up for it on the stream or on the channel.
I wouldn't mind.
Yeah.
I mean, we're mostly kind of like a modded channel, so we could probably try to find some like maybe like maps or mod packs or whatever.
I'm not sure. I know.
Besides,
go ahead. I'm sorry.
we had a big list of like Super Metroid stuff.
Yeah.
To the audience. Yes, we're branching out of Doom. We're not going to quit Doom.
Oh hell.
This isn't going to be like, oh, we're just starting off the channel and just quitting Doom.
Mostly other
No,
16-bit action games are gonna be kind of a side project for us.
Think of us as like, it would be a bit weird. Like, Doom is the A plot and the other games are the B plot.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it.
Yeah. We have a big list of stuff that I updated. I have a lot of Super Metroid mods, a lot. I have some Mario World mods, and a few from Mario 3, actually.
Oh, hell yeah.
More kind of simple.
Well, I need to play Vanilla Mario 3 first before we play any mods.
There was a mod I would recommend you play right after you do that for the channel called Blue Mario 3, which is basically, it just turns the whole color palette blue and it doesn't change anything else.
Huh,
and I thought that would be funny.
Oh, Archie. Hello.
There's also a mod called Mario Adventure, which is really popular. Basically, think of it as like, or the Alien Vendetta to Mario 3.
Alright.
In a sense.
Is it like epic and difficult and all that jazz?
Kind of, yeah. I haven't played it myself, but those are the rumors.
Alright, alright. I will say...
I also put some Quake mods on there, but I'm not sure how much Quake we should do.
I gotta be honest, I've played through the first 2 episodes of Quake, and then I kind of got bored with it, if I'm being perfectly honest. Also, I love the continuity that you start out in the area that you left. That's kind of a cool thing this WAD is doing. Oh, wait a minute. I know this MIDI too. Hang on. Oh yeah, this is Crateria Surface from Super Metroid.
Yay.
Speak of the devil, we were just talking about Super Metroid. You haven't played Super Metroid, have you? Or have you?
I have played through a bit of Super Metroid, but I get stuck. I cannot get through a big open world that much for Metroidvania. Technically, it's not an open world. I played for like the first half, and then now it's just like, okay, I have no idea what to do, and I'm just gonna kind of mess around.
I can dig it. I would love to play that on the channel, especially if you haven't played it all the way through. That's probably, not even probably, that is legitimately like my favorite game of all time. Now granted, I've only been playing video games for about 3 years. I'm very, very new to the actual video game scene. I didn't play a single, like, well, I played like some educational games when I was a kid, but I didn't play hardly any video games at all until I was in my mid-20s, I want to say.
It's kind of ironic that your favorite games are ones with people in space with big helmets. Yeah, and armor and stuff.
Oh
Doom Guy
yeah,
and Samus.
like Metroid and Doom. Yeah, they're kind of very similar. They're people
How
in
I would describe it is Samus is basically Doom Guy and Boba Fett mixed together, played by Scarlett Johansson.
That's a
I'd
good way to
say
put it.
Samus is.
She's a little too tall. I think Samus is like a really tall, like uber Amazon. She's like 6'7", I want to say. So I would say she's like a young Tilda Swinton, but definitely with like ScarJo's kind of personality from like the Avengers movies.
Yeah,
But no,
I'm not typically. Yeah, she's the big kind of badass lady, whereas Doom Guy, he's kind of almost the opposite. How I think of Doom Guy, not Doom Slayer. I know they're the same character now, but Doom Guy from like the OG Doom games seems like almost kind of insignificant. Like he's not like, of course he's not like weak or anything. It's just, I'd say in the universe kind of unassuming because he's the avatar that the player emotes themselves through. You know, he's not really a character.
Yeah, well, and that's part of why I like him so much, because he's I love the idea that he's just some like 9-to-5 space marine who just incidentally got caught up and had to save the universe because he was just in the wrong place at the wrong time.
Fine. I guess I'll go save the universe.
Fine,
that's
Mom.
Mom.
But I don't want to save the universe, Mom. I want to play video games. Well, sweetie, you can play video games and save the universe at the same time. That's why Doom is a video game. Okay, Mom. Whatever. God, stupid. Anyway.
Yeah. Samus is kind of more of her own character, though. That's kind of what I like. You know?
Well, I mean, again, I've only played Super Metroid, and in that she's just a sprite, but it is kind of cool that she's like a bounty hunter, and there is like that little moment of characterization, like at the very beginning, where she's like returning the Metroid to the scientists and so forth. So there's a bit of characterization.
She seems like she cares a lot about animals. That's all I'm saying.
Oh, sure, absolutely. There definitely is more than Doom Guy, to be sure.
Yeah. Whereas, like, Doom Guy is just kind of Gordon Freeman before Gordon Freeman.
Oh, sure.
I feel like they're liked for kind of the same reason. Where just Gordon Freeman kind of takes those traits up. It's not necessarily a role-playing game, but you kind of insert yourself into the character.
Well, yeah, I mean, the silent protagonist is like a trope that's as old as video games themselves, where they're silent so that you can self-insert, so to speak. Also, I'm so sorry, but you know what that red nebula looks like to me?
What?
Among
Us. I was just gonna say that.
Oh my god, you were on the same wavelength. That makes me happy. Yes.
That,
I actually saw a really interesting video.
when
YouTube
Scythe 2 is sus, bro. Scythe 2, Eric Alm is pretty sus, bro.
This Eric Alm guy is hella sus. Oh my god.
You are so sus.
Oh my god. We're gonna lose like all of our subscribers if we keep talking like this, bro.
Quick, make an emergency meeting with subscribers.
We're being ironic. Oh shit. That or my terrible playing will make them unsubscribe. We'll see.
The Archvile looking kind of sus there, bro.
Oh my god. No, absolutely. I actually don't hate Among Us stuff, but I love the meme of people hating Among Us stuff, if that makes sense.
I just love making a meme about it.
Yes, like, absolutely.
Like I'll do the you meme past your sus. I just love doing that for whatever reason.
Well, I think because it makes people annoyed, and it's really fun to watch your friends get annoyed and just be like, "Shut up," and I'm like,
"Shut up."
I think.
And you're basically doing Goofy.
Someone's being a little shushy-wushy. Someone's being just a little bit shushy-wushy. Oh, there he is again. I'm sorry, I'm being really annoying. I'm sorry.
We're annoying. We're having fun together. Where our subscribers are tearing their teeth out.
Hey, hey, that's what matters. And hey,
Well,
we hope you guys are having fun too. But let us know if we're doing too much of the sus stuff. Let us know if we're being too sus. Anyway,
if we're a little sus, you can eject us.
joking aside, I don't know where to go from here. Have you played this before?
This particular map before?
Yeah. Oh wait, maybe it's.
I have gotten lost in it before.
Oh, here we go. Okay. Oh, hi.
Kind of hard to regress, almost.
Oh gosh.
Speaking of like Samus and kind of Doom, there was an old mod I saw that I still have downloaded. It was Doom Gal, which basically didn't change much except made Doom Guy a girl.
Oh
Changed the bug shot.
I think that was like
I played
on,
that a lot with Hellbound, so.
That was like on Doom Kid's like vanilla WAD pack, right? I remember there was something kind of like that.
I downloaded it on its own before I really knew who Doom Kid was, so.
Okay.
I played it a lot with Hellbound, so.
Alright, so it just changes the status bar to be like a girl's head rather than a guy's head, right?
Yeah, and the pain sounds, of course, to match the more feminine kind of voice.
Have you played Tarnsman's Projectile Hell by any chance?
I have not, no.
It's I'm not a big fan of Tarnsman as a mapper personally. I kind of have a vendetta against him, but it's an interesting WAD because it's a GZ Doom and Eternity exclusive. I think it runs in both engines, but nothing else. But the protagonist in there is a woman, and she's got, let's just say, a very embarrassing yell. I'm not going to try to imitate it because I don't want to get demonetized, but
You don't want to do the anime girl stereotype.
well, that's exactly what she is.
That's what came to mind. Like I do that sometimes in Discord calls with a friend. And they're like, "Oh God."
Oh yeah.
I mean, you know, it definitely feels like a Discord call thing rather than something you'd put like in a Doom mod.
Oh sure.
I mean, to be fair, he could have been a bit of a troll. Well, I'm not that familiar with Tarzan, so tell me your vendetta against him.
Tarzan
as a mapper.
Tarzan definitely feels like a bit of a troll. I actually think I was having a conversation on Sandwich's like Discord about this, but here's my thing. Like, so he contributed a lot of maps to Back to Saturn X Episode 2, which I think I've already talked about my gripes with before. And he made Doom 2 in Spain only, and he's contributed to some other high-profile projects. The guy knows how to make a good Doom map. Like, he always makes compelling layouts with good monster like placement. He makes really interesting geometry, and generally just he knows how to make, you know, an interesting Doom level. But he's all about ammo and health starvation, and his levels always, to me at least, outstay their welcome. I know
they're too magnum opus-y.
Well, not even that. Right. I mean, his maps in like Doom 2 in Spain only are not that long, all things considered. They're actually relatively short. You can beat them in about 10 minutes or so. But inevitably with any Tarnsman map, I'll always like run out of health or ammo by the end and need to be like fleeing from an archvile while trying to berserk punch them. And there's something that just feels like, I don't know, underhanded and uncomfortable about his mapping. Though, there again, like I said, he knows how to make good layouts, he knows how to make interesting combat set pieces, and so, I almost wish the guy would just, like, be less of a troll with his mapping, because I really do think he could be a great mapper, but he uses his skills to be more of a troll, I think, which some people love. I know Bobby loves him, and Doom 2 in Spain only won a CAC award, so a lot of people like what he does, so I'm probably just weird. It's just my opinion.
I don't like trolling behavior that much now. I mean, I still do enjoy it from occasions, but now it's just like, okay, you should stop, stuff like that.
Oh, sure.
There's a friend group I'm in on Discord that I'm still really close with after a long time, but some of their antics can get a bit much for me, especially with the edginess in
Oh,
some
sure.
cases. Like I still do some edgy things from time to time, which I don't think is, you know, that bad, but sometimes it's just like, yeah, that's a bit out of taste, you know?
We're guys. We're always going to be a little bit edgy, but you can take it
Yeah.
too far. And again, like I said, lots of people love his style, lots of people love his map, so I'm probably in the minority, and I'm
The
okay.
majority of the Doom community is probably male. Not saying there aren't female players out there, just the majority is kind of, you know, marketing.
Oh, sure. Well, I mean, it's a violent first-person shooter video game. That tends to appeal
It's
more to the boys, but you know, there's all kinds of talent, and one of the cool things about it is that it's a very
especially like
welcoming.
Estro Portia and Naxalotl now, so.
Yeah. Which, by the way, I have been playing a bit of Abscission recently. It's pretty dang good. I really like it.
I like some of the levels, and at least, but I still need to kind of get used to the difficulty, is what I say, because I'm kind of an outlier in the community in the sense that like most of what the community considers easy and hard is like hard and then ultra hard for me.
I I know what you mean. Um, I can fight my way through most stuff. I do have the pride of being able to say that I've beaten Sunless. Admittedly, it was on Hurt Me Plenty with, you know, continuous, not with pistol starts. Um, but there is like a threshold for me where it stops being, you know, fun, so to speak.
I feel like challenge for the sake of challenge isn't really appealing to me anymore. Uh, Not anymore. I never really was to begin with.
You
I mean,
didn't see
most of the
that.
community is kind of made up of people who are just like, yeah, challenge, which isn't bad, you know. It's not like you're not allowed to make challenging maps, but those don't appeal to me that much. And I don't think there's enough of the community that really is like, okay, let's make some kind of easier stuff.
Well,
Uh,
I think a lot of people like making. I think a lot of people, and I could be completely off base. This is just my opinion. Seem to like challenge for challenge's sake, if that makes any. Oh, holy shit!
you are like completely correct. I will
Yes.
completely put my. I would go far to say it's mainly a lot of fan made content as well. If you've seen Super Mario Maker, people like stacking Bowser's on top of each other sometimes. It's like, look how challenging this is. And it's like that's not making a fun level. It's just being mean.
Now,
Uh, yeah, I know there's still plenty of talented mappers who make hard, challenging stuff. I'm not like dissing the entire community and saying you're all like trash.
oh sure.
I wouldn't be here right now if I didn't enjoy being in the community.
Oh yeah. Well, and I'll come right out and say like, there are challenging map sets which I genuinely love. Like, legitimately, like one of my favorite map sets of all time. There's two actually. There's Speed of Doom and Sunlust, and yeah, they kicked my ass, but they were so much fun, and they were so masterfully crafted, and you always had the resources to take care of what you needed, and you could always see what you needed to do. And the construction and the sense of scale and the music and the detailing, it's a truly beautiful. Ah, damn it. I loaded when I should have saved. Sorry about that. I'm very tired, folks. My mistake. Sorry about that. But, like, they're legitimate pieces of art, in my opinion. Same with, earlier this year I was playing Fractured Worlds, which I still haven't finished. Which is, again, like, a piece of art. And I'm blatantly cheating to get the supercharge, but whatever.
I feel like it's because one, it's just like most fan-made stuff tends to be a lot harder than the original. I'm not sure for what exact reason, but I do know, especially with like the makers, that probably does involve some amount of trolling, while also some amount of like, okay, I love this new one. How can I challenge myself further? Like it can vary depending on the mapper, of course.
Well,
It's just
and
that we've had 30 years to get better, whereas like with something like Mario Maker, we've only had like 7 years with it, you know.
well, and you know, um, difficulty when it's done right in Doom, especially, can be, in my opinion, like properly epic. Like Speed of Doom, Sunlust, Fractured Worlds, and even Struggle, Antaresia, Legacy, which is a harder WAD, are like properly epic, and part of the epicness of them is their difficulty, in my opinion. But there's also map sets which just are hard for hardness's sake, and those aren't fun to me personally. So, like, I tried playing Kama Sutra a while ago, and it was just a miserable experience. I did not enjoy it. And
I can see why I have not played it personally, although I do want to play the few maps. I think the one with like the tennis racket I actually really enjoyed.
oh,
But
sure.
that one seems a lot more trolly, especially with the ending map. After saying that, it's just like, yeah, this is kind of like not very taking itself seriously.
Well, I mean, you're under 18, so you obviously chose the under 18 route, right?
I haven't played it yet.
No, it is
I did watch Mount Payne's video on it.
it is a
So,
pretty good joke, all things considered.
yeah, I get it. It's like haha funny. Women open her legs to show V, but you know, it's just like I get the metaphorical meaning Mount Payne tried to put on it, but how I think it was like, yeah, you're trying to be a bit too philosophical at the fact that they're just like seemed a bit trolly.
And I think he knew that. I think he was being ironically philosophical, if that makes any sense.
Yeah. Still kind of funny though, but Kama Sutra, I feel like that's something modern Doomers are gonna like. You know, or at least most of them.
Oh yeah, totally.
That's probably a set you could probably play with Brutal Doom like all the time, and I would just be like, yeah, makes sense. As opposed to like something like BTSX, where I'd be like, why do you only play Brutal Doom? Whereas with like Kama Sutra, I could be like, oh yeah, because it's kind of ironic and it's kind of silly, you know?
Oh yeah, sure, of course. And darn, I had another example. Yeah, I think if the idea of difficulty is just cramming a bunch of monsters into a pillbox and giving you a chain gun, like, that's not fun to me.
There's a difference between challenging and just being hard, I'd say.
Yeah, well, and that's the thing, like, I don't love Slaughter for its own sake, but I enjoy Slaughter WADs when they're, you know, when they're calibrated, when there's some thought put into the monster placement and the composition, and it pushes the player in a specific way to improvise, to where it's not just mindlessly rocketing or chain gunning and hoping for, you know, a lucky RNG roll, so to speak.
Yeah.
Like a lot of the fights, for example, in Sunlust or Fractured Worlds, for example, they require you to juggle a lot of kind of like variables, but there again, if you can juggle all of them, you can come out on top. It's just a factor of like practicing it, and it's fun to master. And it's kind
Whereas
of
just like something like Nuts.log, for example, it's just like
a blatant peeve.
I feel kind of bad for the creator of Nuts.log because it said it's the one he put the least amount of effort into, like the project, but somehow it's the one that blew it up compared to the ones he was passionate about.
I agree.
And that really speaks to me as wanting to be a creative, because I've had sort of a similar experience on a much smaller scale from like YouTube videos just with like friends.
Well, I know exactly what you mean, yeah.
It just feels like it's almost makes your other work worthless, even though it doesn't, you know, because people only came to you for the stupid thing you barely thought of. It's like, I've worked on this for a long time. I really want to present this. Like, nobody really cares.
I know exactly what you mean. I can remember when I was in graduate school, I was working like really passionately on this like thermodynamics of like vacancy migration project, and I was really passionate about it, and I was like really trying to make it like work and like turn it into like a publication, even a proposal, and it didn't work and no one really seemed interested in it. And then I did this like simple little calculation which I published with my advisor at the time, which like got like 20 citations and like got her a lot more grant money, and I'm like, this paper took like a month to work on. I've been working on the other thing which no one's interested in for like 2 years. But that's just the way of the world sometimes, and you just gotta know how to like not take it too seriously, and just like, I think part of it too is learning to take pleasure in your own work without worrying if it blows up, so to speak. Like enjoying it for the inherent value of the work that it is, rather than for the recognition, if that makes sense.
Oh yeah. You'll get your chance someday, hopefully. To anybody who's out there, including possibly future self me.
As corny as it is, do what you love because you love it, and
don't do it because you're getting fame or a paycheck.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, don't zap me.
Like, I had this conversation on Doomworld recently. There was a thread that I posted in that I think you left like on. It was somebody asking if Doom mods could be sold commercially.
Oh yeah.
And I was just like, legally, I'll leave that up to people who are more confident than me, but I don't think Ed Software would be happy if it wasn't a older conversion. But morally speaking, I'd say absolutely no. And if you're going to sell a Doom mod for money that isn't, I would say a TC like Ashes 2063 or like Suffice or even like Heretic. Heretic is kind of a TC, but where those kind of like completely changed, they just use the engine. It's not really a mod anymore. If it's a mod, then I don't think you should ever sell it commercially. If you want to support the creator on Patreon or whatever, then like go for it. But selling it for money or like putting it behind a paywall, that is the most scummiest behavior I've ever seen, and I will never support anybody who puts a mod behind a paywall. Granted, if the mod creator has a Patreon and gives you the option to donate, then like, yeah, go for it. But like, putting it behind a paywall is really scummy.
Yeah.
You know?
I guess I have less of a... I generally agree. And I mean, I think if you're using the game engine, like you said, to make something with new mechanics and a new story, completely overhauled graphics, new weapons, new everything, then...
But to the point where it isn't a mod anymore, it's its own game.
Yeah, well, and knowing where to draw that line is kind of hard, because, like, the Rowdy Rudy and Ray Mohawk stuff, those are two of, like, my favorite mods of all time. And they're arguably, like, TCs, because they replace the weapon sprites and so forth.
I call them PCs, partial conversions, because they're still fundamentally Doom, in a sense, kind of like Brutal Doom.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
But they're different enough for, for me. I know that the creator of Brutal Doom is making Brutal Fate, which is basically kind of Brutal Doom, but, like, without any of the Doom in it,
Oh, sure.
I feel like a similar case could be made for, like, Rowdy Rudy or whatever.
Oh, absolutely.
But, like, the creator of that thread seemed to kind of imply, like, a one-map kind of still use the same assets thing, and I'm just like, yeah, that's really scummy. There's also another commenter who said it could be the next hot thing. I'm just like, yeah, that is a very dangerous precedent to set.
Well, I'm sorry, continue, my mistake.
Other people have spoken about the practicality of it better than I could have.
Oh,
but
yeah.
You're basically going up against thousands of other WADs that are probably of similar, even higher quality, that don't cost money. I know people will pay for it, some people at least, but I still don't think it's right to do. I don't think a mod should cost money. An individual game that's just made on the engine, like an Ashes or Scythe, sure, I'm willing to pay like a few bucks for it. But like a map, yeah, no, get the fuck out. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I mean, again, it depends on how big is the map, though. Like, if it's a map that takes... What if someone makes, like, Skyrim in the Doom engine? Now, someone's probably not going to do that. whole lot of effort.
I feel like with the single map, I would say, again, from what Thread implied at least, it's kind of low effort. You know, just a single map or whatever that doesn't have much thought put into that, just regular Doom level, then yeah, it shouldn't cost much. But
Well,
if
ultimately,
you made a Skyrim in Doom, and that's more of a total conversion, I would say. Again, difference between mods and like making a new game. I'll keep saying it till the end of time, but you know.
no, I hear you. And fortunately, I remember actually partially spurred by this question. I got into contact with some map creators who I really liked and appreciated, and said, you know, essentially, hey, I love what you do. It's brought me a lot of joy over the past year or so. You know, your WODs are great. I really love what you do. I'd love to throw a tip in your jar. You know, I'd love to give you a few bucks on Patreon if I have it. And universally, everyone was responded with, that means so much to us, thank you, but we don't do this for money. We do this because we love it. Oh god.
Yeah, that's why I say it's a dangerous precedent, because it's going to make people who join the community not because they actually care about Doom, not because they actually care about the community, building friendships, not because they love the joy of creation, but just because they want to make a quick buck. And that would really sully everything that I joined the community for.
I agree, yeah.
Yeah, and if that actually does become a president, I'm sorry, I'd probably take a step back from the community, not like quit it entirely, but you know,
Well,
I have a very strong line in the sand when it comes to that. I'm very opinionated when it comes to, you know, mods costing things.
well, the good news is that, like I said, the culture of the Doom modding community as it stands right now is completely on our side. I think so many of mod creators understand the importance of Doom being free, because it's literally like super low barrier to entry. Like, you literally just have to have a phone. You don't even have to have a computer. You can run basically any Doom mod, even like Brutal Doom GZ stuff on your phone, and you can download all this user-made content for free. And I don't really have any philosophy to back this up, but I almost feel like a desire for profit can also kind of taint the creative process, because it's no longer what's in your heart anymore. It's what's in your heart that will also make money, if that makes any sense. Like, it's kind of like, to me, the difference between like old YouTube and new YouTube. Like, part of the reason like old YouTube has this like wonderful, like zany, creative Wild West, admittedly roughshod, but kind of like awesome feel to it, is that it was before monetization, and so people just made what they made because, hey, I can make something and anyone in the world can see it. Isn't that cool? Whereas when it came about money, I feel like that soiled a lot of the creative process, and I think that's part of what made channels like Smosh and plenty of others.
Well, it's kind of cool to have money on YouTube. Ultimately, if I could go back in time, I'd completely, and change the things, I'd completely get rid of monetization of YouTube. Sorry, people who like want to make a living off of YouTube. Unless you're a really big creator, don't. I'm being like genuinely serious. Turn off all monetizations, except the few cents you will get, because YouTube will take a cut. I mean, YouTube has kind of survived because of monetization, but at what cost? You know, the website itself, I'm saying, not like, you know, people making the videos. The website itself needs the money.
Yeah, totally.
You know, it can't survive on its own unless it has the big backer behind it, but still, it's just, you know, I don't feel like it's right to monetize stuff that should be for free. Like, for me, my thoughts on entertainment costing money is really complicated, because to me it's an infinite resource. It's not like water or like food. People can make infinite amounts of art and entertainment. It feels, you know, weird to have a price tag on it. I will say weird because my thoughts again are really complicated, especially with the environment we live in. It's not like a bad thing that entertainment costs money. Again, I don't think it's a inherently bad thing. It's just,
oh no, sure,
I don't know.
it definitely,
I have mixed feelings.
Yeah, well,
You know?
to one, like, artists, creators, people who make stuff, they should absolutely get compensated for what they do. I mean, what a tragedy if you couldn't get, you know, if you couldn't get something for your creation. And I think there is
Yeah.
something, a lot to be said, as a matter of fact, for, also I know Mr. X is going to show up sometime. So, there's a lot to...
Indeed, there isn't like if I thought like entertainment shouldn't be monetized, and that's a pretty no entertainment should be monetized, and that's pretty stupid because I do think artists should be compensated in the sense of the monetization. Like you get just compensation for your work. At the same time, like art that's made to be like a product or like cost money instead of just making it for the sake of art is kind of off and scummy to me. Again, like I'll say, the creative process is an infinite resource. Unless the entire human race died right now, like the entirety of it, we're not going to run out of art.
Yeah, of
People will
course.
make it in some form or another. It's not like food or water, where we can't magic in food or water, but we can kind of magic in art. You know?
No, absolutely. It's like it's purely something from the human mind. If you have a medium, that's what's so special about it. Is you
Even like
hey, I got it.
cave paintings, for example. You know, that that's art. Just having
Absolutely.
something to make the art on.
And yeah, and it's I don't think there's really gonna be a good answer because it's like people have...
Again, we're flawed people living in a complicated world, trying to answer a question that has not been truly answered for like thousands of years.
Yeah, at the end of the day, try to do what you love and also try to get by. But some people won't be able to, you know, sometimes it won't work out. But if you have something that you love doing, which is purely yours and purely creative, that's a wonderful thing, and pursue it. If you can make some bucks for it, great too. But Klaesick and I are also liberal hipsters, so we have a very
Yeah,
liberal hipster view on this, I guess. So
yeah.
take it all with a grain of
I
salt.
don't know the general Doom community kind of political stance.
I think it takes all
So I'd love to
kinds.
see your yeah. It appeals to everyone, so or almost everyone.
Absolutely.
So whether you think we're a bunch of stupid hippies or completely on the money in a sense, good work, comrade. Then leave your comments down below. So
Comment below. Like, comment, and subscribe.
I'm the most philosophical person I know. I would say I keep thinking about philosophy a lot, and then there's most people aren't really interested in that. It's like,
I
oh, I can't like gush my philosophical thoughts out there. So
Hey, I was too when I was a teenager. Honestly, part of the fun for me of having this channel is just getting the excuse to talk to you about philosophy. It's really cool. Like, this is as much a, hey, this is awesome, I get to talk to Klaesick about philosophy channel, as it is a, hey, this is awesome, I get to play Doom channel, you know what I mean?
yeah, and also we're kind of chill in a sense. I haven't seen many other YouTube Doom channels talk about philosophy.
Oh,
I
sure.
mean, I know Mount Payne is out there, but he kind of talked about maps. If there are any other kind of philosophical like Doomers, uh, let us know. Since I probably don't think we're the only ones out there.
Oh, sure.
It would also be kind of arrogant to say that.
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
We're the only chill philosophical Doom. Like, no, we aren't.
No, absolutely. Well, I mean, our whole shtick is we're kind of like a chill Let's Play channel, so that's kind of our thing. But, no, yeah, I mean, um, I think it's just, well, it's like what we were saying when we had that Discord conversation a few weeks ago. It's like trying to give the impression of, like, you're hanging out with your friends on a Sunday night, playing your GameCube or your N64, whatever generation you come from, and just chatting on a warm Friday night and enjoying the magic of getting lost in a video game and kind of the liminal creative space that a good video game will kind of get you into. There is something kind of special to that, so to speak, in my opinion.
I like that we're trying to turn Doom into kind of a chill game because it's kind of viewed as the big high energy thing.
We're playing one of the hard sequels month mods, like one of the hardest Doom mods of all time, and we're talking about, you know, chill stuff, philosophy, and whatever. But no, that's what this is all about.
Yes.
Even when it's difficult, it can be cool and chill and fun. Just depends on how you look at it. Just like life.
Yeah. Granted, there are probably other games that are quote unquote better for the philosophical talk we're doing, but that doesn't mean Doom isn't valid.
Well, I feel
I've been looking into plenty of games that I thought we could do on the channel at some point. Like really short ones, you know.
like which, apart from Mario, I know we've talked about that one. What were some ones you were
there was we put Link to the Past in there.
Link to the Past is really
I think there was one I found called Swear to the Past, where it's just like, I haven't played that yet, but it could be a funny way to play through the original, where it's basically just like, they've added a bunch of swear words and like dark humor to like the text box and don't change anything. I'm just like, I'm stuck here in my own damn castle, you know? Stuff like that.
I'm into it. It's like, oh shoot, who's the guy who...
I also think I put Goddess of Wisdom and Redux on there, depending on what we want to do.
That's a more famous one. I've heard that one's good. But yeah, it could be like The Legend of Zelda as directed by Shane Black, for example. Have you ever seen a Shane Black movie by any chance? They're really funny.
I have not seen a Shane Black movie.
Oh, they're really good. He wrote Kiss Kiss Bang Bang, which is an early Robert Downey Jr. movie. I think that was like a 2004 Robert Downey Jr. movie. And he made a really funny movie in 2016 called The Nice Guys, which is like a buddy cop movie. He's kind of like Sam Raimi. I wouldn't say he makes like movies which are like quote unquote high art, so to speak. A lot of it is actually kind of schlocky. But they're consistently like really fun, really entertaining movies, so to speak. And they're kind of like hallmark is they have like really like quippy, fun dialogue that makes the characters like really likable and fun. So they're not like a Nicholas Winning Refn movie or like a Stanley Kubrick movie for their depth or their commentary. They're just really fun, well-written movies with interesting characters.
Yeah, I think I'll go check them out. But kind of getting on the other topic, one game I was looking into, or a few games, I think I sent you a video of some of them. There was this game called Firewatch, which I got interested in for the channel. It's basically about
a walking
a man, a 1989 who takes a job in as a fire watch in Wyoming after his wife gets dementia, and it's basically kind of an exploration of why someone would have that job in the first place, and also, you know, having radio contact with someone else along the way, you know.
Actually, I remember when that game came out, and there was a review channel which I was really into at the time called Previously Recorded, and one guy loved it, thought it was one of his favorite games ever. One guy hated it and thought it was like the worst game of the year. So I've heard it's divisive, and if you like chill philosophical stuff,
and that's probably up our alley. Here's what I'll say, and I'll say again: video games are an art medium first and foremost.
Yes.
Video games do not have to be fun. Yes, they do not have to be fun, and anybody who says they have to be fun is a little stupid. I'm sorry, real stupid.
A little what?
A little stupid.
Stupid,
but with the P taken out.
Oh, gotcha. Okay.
Like that one Filthy Frank video, but you know.
I don't remember that one. You'll have to send me that one.
I think it was an early one where he got hate comments.
Oh.
Or one of the earlier hate comment videos, but
ladies and
yeah,
gentlemen,
essentially.
we have our first hater.
Claps.
Woohoo! Nobody gives a shit.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Continue, please.
Uh, again, video games do not have to be fun. There was somebody who didn't like my house.wad because it wasn't fun,
Oh
which I
man.
get. I won't spoil my house.wad, so I know you haven't played it
Yeah,
or anyone else, but
I still need to play it, so don't say anything.
yeah. But it can get very labyrinthian and very confusing, which I typically don't really like in games.
Oh, sure. Well, I feel like
But
that's
it's
kind of
saying that it has to be fun or like conform to your idea of fun is pretty stupid, and like, you know,
well,
making your taste out to be superior is never cool, you know.
and there's also lots of different kinds of fun, and I think art, and that's like you said, video games are an art form. It's like books or movies or painting or something. It's just another way to
You don't say every movie or every book has to be like fun, you know.
exactly. It's like they all have their own purpose. Like I would argue that Slaughter, Slaughter what? It's not Slaughter itself. Slaughter in the Doom sense, is, I think, even to the people who enjoy it, not necessarily the fun may not be necessarily the appeal. It's the feeling of overcoming overwhelming odds and overcoming something which is incredibly difficult, which I can actually completely relate to. And so they might not be, so to speak, fun in the same way that like Back Saturn X or Rowdy Rudy 2 or something of that nature is, but they're fun in the sense that they give you a sense of accomplishment by defeating them.
Yeah.
What are you doing? How do I
Whereas like with my house.wad, for example, again, I won't spoil, but you know, it's not really necessarily a challenge overcoming thing. It's more like comparable to the Ben Drowned creepypasta in a sense. When that was popular.
I don't remember that
It's
one.
kind of that for Doom. Where it's kind of almost like an ARG in a sense. Where it's I would call my house a lot of a creepypasta.
Alright.
Because again with like the creepy journal entries, I can't really confirm, and I don't really believe what happened in the journal entries did happen. Maybe the weird dreams did. Probably the friend dying thing happened too as well. So
Well, I've heard the friend dying thing is
my
like,
condolences. Yeah,
heard the
you
friend
don't just
dying
put
thing
that
is
out there for creepypasta and just say, "Oh, it was just a creepypasta. I was trolling you." Like, my condolences for your friend. Like, genuinely. But I do think like the diary entries that come with the water probably exaggerated, at least.
Are you
This
talking
does feel
about?
kind of like a creepypasta in a good way, not like a bad way where it's like bad creepypasta, like Sonic died EXE or whatever. It's like, ooh, creepy.
You're
You know,
you're much more familiar with creepypastas than I am, so I'll take your word for it.
yeah. It does feel like genuinely kind of a tribute to your friend if you're listening to this creator. You know, done in like a weird kind of like artsy way. I think that's pretty cool. You know, your tribute from your friend doesn't always have to be like happy.
Oh, sure.
You know,
Yeah. And I think it's actually very healthy and important to address your more negative or more scary emotions. And art can and often does help you do that. Part of the reason I'm, generally speaking, pacifist is like, when I was a kid, I saw like Auschwitz and Birkenau demonstrations of like what happened in concentration camps with World War II and the Nazis, and it's like, this kind of atrocity is horrible, but it's not unique to the Nazis. It's not unique to war. It actually happens.
that's the only thing I really dislike about portrayals of the Nazis in the modern era is people kind of think of them as a special type of evil, and they really weren't. They weren't special at all. What horrifies me about the Nazis the most is not the fact that they are extraordinary, that everybody points to them as the bad guys, you know, the obvious bad guys. It's the fact that they were so ordinary, and that's what scares me the most.
Yeah, if you ever,
Not the fact that they were, yeah.
I remember taking European history when I was in college, and reading they had us read excerpts of diaries from American and SS officers, and what struck you was like the sympathy and humanity of a lot of the SS officers. Like, what was more horrifying wasn't necessarily the atrocities that the Americans did, but the humanity and compassion and love of like the SS officers for their wives or their mothers or their girlfriends. It's like, these were people who were corrupted by a terrible ideology and just had were beset on horrible times and were not educated against how to protect against propaganda. And so it's kind of like we said in the last episode, you're not immune. Only last time it wasn't you're immune to economic collapse. You're not immune to propaganda.
You're not immune to committing violent acts of genocide. That's my only big toll with how people portray Nazis is people kind of, again, view them as special or like they're like monsters or like they're not human. They were. These were ordinary people who committed all this stuff. Hitler seemed like a very ordinary person before he became a dictator. Like, not even joking.
What they did, which it should be emphasized, like what they did was monstrous and horrible and one of the worst things in history. But it was monstrous because it was...
The other empires would have done the same thing if they had the same technology as they did.
Exactly, and it was a bunch of normal, reasonable people pushed to do horrible things by peer pressure, effectively. And that's a terrifying thought. Welcome to our Happy Doom stream.
We did another existential crisis thing.
Oh, it's our thing now. That's our motif. Oh,
that's our motif. We talk about scary stuff in a chill way, hopefully.
We're the Depressing Brothers.
Hopefully this is more digestible than just like watching documentaries on outfits or whatever.
Oh, sure. Well, I think it's good to talk about this stuff, but it's still funny to me that it's like we're like a Doom Let's Play channel.
Supposedly chill, happy Doom thing was really just about to make you sad.
Well, let's balance it out by I'll share something actually
talking about happy things.
Well, something, I don't want to make this artificial, but I do want to be like genuine. Oh, I didn't save. Bummer. Okay. So I read or I watched a YouTube video last night about evidences for compassion in our Neolithic and, pre-human ancestors. And even going back so far as like Australopithecus, it's amazing, like there's clear evidence of like disabled, sick, and kind of like just like members of the population with like dwarfism and autism and even like early versions of Down syndrome who were protected, celebrated, and even like venerated as like heroes in the society for dealing with the things that they dealt with. And it's like, okay, it's in our nature to be compassionate to each other, and obviously there's evidence.
That's what I've heard as well. I feel like it's in our nature to be both, purely from my perspective.
Yes.
Because I feel like purely evolutionary, since I'm atheistic and science kind of based. Purely evolutionary.
I'm a hardcore Christian, and I believe that too, actually. So I completely believe.
Yeah, we're hardwired to kind of, or at least how we evolved on this planet. We evolved to be a social species first and foremost, and a social species can't survive if it can't work together. So that's where morality comes from.
Oh, sure.
As kind of objectively, and I'm not saying that. Again, I feel like some people misinterpret that as like that makes morality like less meaningful, and I don't think it doesn't. I don't think it does. It's still just as meaningful. It's just more honest to say where it came from, and still think of it as appreciating meaningful as opposed to making up a lie that's more grand.
Well, and well, and partially what's amazing to me about like those stories is that like I agree with you generally, but also like, for example, in that video there was an archaeological dig that showed there was a young girl who had polio, who lived in like Neolithic Egypt, I want to say, and she had been cared for by her tribe and taken care of, and there's no biological reason, there's no like herd protection reason to keep someone like that alive or to preserve them. But this was someone who her society went out of the way to kind of protect her and make sure she had not just shelter but also family and entertainment and so forth. And that's, I don't know, something about that strangely comforting to me, that it's like, despite the fact that it was clear to people then that like this person has no practical utility, life, simply because it is life, deserves to be protected and celebrated. And I don't know, the fact that like even our ancient ancestors understood that and celebrated it, that just like, that's really cool to me. I really like that. So
yeah, I feel like that's the question of evil, of course, is like really kind of complex, and if humans are nature versus nurture or whatever. But we do have faults in our genetic program, like mutations and stuff like that. We're not like a perfect social species, for example.
well,
Again, that can also lead to problems, you know, like tribalism, you know,
oh yeah,
which can be just as bad as like looking out for only yourself.
we're an amalgamation of great characteristics and bad, and I think that's the utility of society, philosophy, friendship, and you know, good ethics and morality. I think is you get to choose what kind of person you want to be, so choose carefully, you know.
Yeah, that also kind of makes me look at like fiction a bit differently too. Like, for example, like post-apocalyptic fiction versus like you only look out for yourself. You know, a bunch of like raider tribals and whatever.
I mean,
It both seems true and not true at the same time.
It's just like any
I
other
would
time in history. There'll be selfish bastards, but there'll be great compassion and help. And I mean, I don't think like
I think it's also kind of ironic that the people who say that everyone would be bad and selfish in the post-apocalypse would probably be the ones that would be bad and selfish to begin with. That's like a defensive mechanism.
to anyone who says
Like I've
that,
also heard some from other people. It was like, if we didn't have society, we'd all be anarchists and eating each other. And I feel like that says more about their morality than, like, for example, mine, because it kind of implies that they would be the ones doing that.
yeah, it's like when
Like,
the
if there wasn't society.
it's like when the bombs start flying, watch out for them, so to speak. Maybe be very wary of them, so to speak. Yeah.
Like,
no,
I've kind of thought about it, like, what would I do if we didn't have, like, morality, or, like, it suddenly disappeared, like, tomorrow? I'd probably do the exact same thing I'm doing now.
Yeah.
Or at least I hope I would. You know, I can't really know what I would truly do in a situation like that if I was pushed that far, because again, you are not immune to doing evil things. I am not immune to doing evil things, but you know.
I think that's part of why humility is so important, because it's important to like not put on airs about who you are, what you might do, so to speak. I mean,
I can hope of what I want to be, or like, you know, what I want to do, but I can't really know what I am or even what I would do.
Well, and I think you can work on your own personality to try and ensure that in the future you would be that good person.
My ideal alignment is chaotic good, or like somewhere between chaotic good and chaotic neutral, if I'm going in a simplistic kind of way.
Sure. Well, and it's up to you to ensure that that's cultivated, and to ensure that that is, you know, grown kind of within yourself, if that makes any sense. So
yeah.
Also, I have no idea.
Of course, I'm still a teenager, so my morality is all over the place.
Oh yeah. Well, and I remember
I'll probably
asking,
cement it later on when I get, you know, older and hopefully wiser.
well, I remember asking a lot of these questions too, and being like, you know, just I still think about it sometimes, like, what kind of person would I be if shit really hits the fan? And would I be someone who helps or who hurts? Moreover, am I doing enough in my life now to be a good guy? Like, is my morality really am I actually a good person, or am I just in a comfortable place where I can be reasonably good to those around me? It's a big question.
It's interesting. It's interesting to think about, but I feel like everybody should be thinking about it at least once in their lives.
Well, I think it's healthy to grapple with this stuff and to be introspective. I think
I feel
it's
like
a good
most
thing.
people, besides the most antisocial ones, inherently believe they are moral in some way. Like the most evil person, or like most people kind of
The person who believes,
inherently, almost selfishly believes that we are moral and that we are good. I say almost selfishly because it just depends on the person. And then again, selfishness is also kind of a complicated topic.
yeah, I think the people who think that they're the best, so to speak, are like actually the worst. Like if you think that you're like immune and you're like a very good person, you're probably actually a very bad person, all things considered. If you think you're immune to like these issues, so to speak, because that's just pride, and I'm of the opinion that like pride is like the
The
root of a
deadliest
lot
sin.
of the root of a lot of really bad things, and if not pretty much all of them.
There was a video I watched a bit ago about biblical sin of pride and how non-Christians can relate to that framework, and I thought it was pretty interesting.
Yeah, I
Because
mean,
I do kind of agree with that. That pride is the ultimate kind of sin,
I mean,
in a sense.
yeah, I mean, to us,
Like
it
for example, I
totally
really
is.
hate prideful people and prideful characters in fiction. For example, prideful tends to mean prick in my vocabulary. So
Oh, sure, yeah. It's thinking that you're above other people and you're above the morality of other people, so to speak. And it's really dangerous because you can become a nicer, more sincere, more, explicitly generous person, technically generous, that is, and still be
I wouldn't
prideful and
necessarily use nice. I would say because nice and good are different. Like nice is mostly you do good behavior to get a reward or whatever. Whereas like good is kind of for its own sake. I'd say. I mean,
exactly, yeah.
niceness isn't inherently bad, but it's more of like a neutral trait. I'd say.
Oh, sure, yeah.
Again, it's more like good behavior to get a reward or whatever, and that can be used for bad or like neutral or good purposes. Whereas like good is just like you're doing good things out of the sake of just being good, as opposed to just like you know. And also, anybody out there is like saying, "Oh, even being good is selfish because you're doing it for your own good feelings." And it's like, yeah, but it's kind of a lame argument in the sense, like it kind of disregards the entire idea of wanting to be good. It's like, oh, you're still selfish about it. It's like, I guess in a sense, we're all kind of inherently selfish, but at the same time,
Oh, yeah.
there's still a lot of selflessness, you know.
You just gotta know where to look for it within
Yeah.
yourself and be introspective. I think, the more you realize how far gone you are, the better off you actually are, if that makes any sense. The more you realize, like, that you are imperfect and you have stuff to work on, the more likely you will be to do so, and the more likely I think you'll want to do good for its own sake, rather than for yours, if that makes any sense.
Yeah. Accept your imperfections, people. At least come away with this even after some of the darker topics on the episode.
Oh,
No,
sure.
be
Actually,
imperfect.
is it cool if we, I'm actually getting kind of bummed out, and this is kind of a bummer of a level. Is it okay if we talk about something else?
Oh yeah, I feel like that was kind of a natural end to the conversation.
Yeah,
Um,
I was waiting to
what
get
does
to
this
it.
color make you think of? A warm summer's day? The
It makes me think
singing
of
child?
this makes me think of
Or
demon
could it be?
guts. Um, actually,
Red is kind of red is my one of my least favorite colors. Although I wouldn't say it's like a bad color. I like magenta and blue the best.
ooh, blues.
Interestingly, do you want to know a cultural tidbit? Um,
Yeah, sure.
Societies tend to name red first before any other color.
Really,
They tend to name red first because
really.
I think it's because it's a very vibrant color. It's also the color kind of death if you get like stabbed or whatever, you know,
Yeah,
back in
well,
hunter-gatherer time.
there's a lot of
And then
red
I think it's
plants.
black and white, and then I think it's green, and then everything else.
Interesting. Black and white,
Yeah,
green. Well, that kind of makes sense because like green is pervasive. It's a natural color. Whereas red is, the color of blood, and so, most people, if you've ever received like a wound or anything, you know exactly what the
it's
color
very
is.
bold color in a sense. You can easily, if you're not colorblind, um, you can easily recognize red outside of the environment.
Yeah, totally.
You know, it's very easy to point out red compared to other colors.
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah, cultural tidbit, but I still like blue. Blue is my favorite color. Blue supremacy.
Blue is mine as well. I won't say blue supremacy, but I will say it is a cool, literally, color. I like it a lot. I think just because it's very relaxing to me. Like whenever I see blue, I think of like, a cool ocean breeze or the night sky, and it's just like nice.
Color is very interesting. Well, I actually like magenta the most. We can't technically, it's not technically a real color, quote unquote, because it's not in the light spectrum. Our brain just kind of give us the ability to see it because
Huh.
if there was the true in between of purple and red, it would be green. And, you know.
Interesting. I did not know that.
I'm glad our brains did that though, because I really like magenta. It's almost kind of a natural color in a sense.
No, totally. I didn't know that it was not a natural color we could see, but that's kind of cool.
Our brains are interesting little things. The entirety of your intelligence and your thoughts are contained in basically a piece of tofu
Yeah.
that's been crumpled up.
Basically a warm bowl of mush with some nerves in it.
If you put your hand on your brain, let's say I've heard it. If very recent brains taken out of people that are just like, again, consistency of tofu. If you put like your hand on it, like even very gently, it'll leave like a permanent indent in your brain. That's how fragile your brain is.
It's kind of amazing when you think about it. Also, here's the arrow where Mount Pain was like, "Oh no, an arrow! Where do I go?"
Oh no, it's like downtown again. I'm so confused.
I love Downtown. I know people don't like it, but that's one of my favorite Doom 2
I
levels.
I don't think downtown is a flawless level, but I think it's a bit underrated.
Yeah, it's definitely.
It could be. I like it because I feel like it could have been done better.
Oh yeah, it's definitely. It's very flawed. Like I'll openly admit it's one of the most flawed Doom 2 levels, but I like what it's going for, if that makes any sense.
Yeah. Weirdly enough, I like it more than Industrial Zone, so.
No,
One of my favorite levels is actually the factory, so fight me.
Hell yeah, bro!
Fight me, come on.
Factory team represent. I'm into it. I like that level too, and I hate that it gets such a bad rap. Again, not my favorite level, but
Yeah.
I like what Sandy was going
I
for.
really.
I
like him the same way as Downtown too. It's very flawed, and I think it could have been done much better. But I like the concept. And the bare bones is something to improve on.
Yeah, I think what happened with Sandy Peterson is he had some seriously really good ideas, in my opinion. But Doom 2 is rushed into production, and so I think he was like, okay, I'll make these maps, and then I'll touch them up as I have some more time. I'll jot down some ideas, and then I'll flesh them out as time goes on, so to speak. But he just never got that extra time, so they had to ship it as is. But I like what he was going for. I like the ideas behind, like, Downtown, for example, or the factory. They're interesting. If incomplete, if that makes sense. And I'll take interesting over, boring and polished.
Yeah. I feel like my favorite level so far from Doom 2, at least just normal Doom 2, probably Entryway, strangely enough. Underhalls, the factory, I think, downtown, and I can think of a few other ones. Like Gantlet is probably another one, but I feel like it's the lowest one.
We need to call this Hot Take the channel. Doom Hot Take the channel.
Take Doom Hot Take and Philosophy.
Yes. Come here for your controversial Doom level opinions and your philosophy by two people who know very little about philosophy.
I am big. We are both big dumb trying to explain big, complicated universe. So
ape together strong.
We are literally monkeys, and that's okay. Don't let anybody make you think being monkeys is a bad thing.
We are monkeys with tofu for brains, literally.
Yeah.
And that's okay. Monkey pride.
Yes.
Gather up all these little bonuses here. I think I got all the revenants. But I didn't get any keys. I didn't get any bats from Zelda.
Spooky, scary skeletons.
Say what?
Spooky, scary skeletons.
Spooky, scary skeletons and shivers down your spine.
Also, that reminds me of earlier conversation before we started the recording, Bloom. I was actually thinking of making the vanilla version of it, where I just replace all the monster sprites and change some of the behavior.
Okay, that
for
could be
people
really
who aren't that big into like GZ Doom or like hard monsters that like change everything.
Aw, you're making it for me. I really appreciate that.
Yeah, because I really love that mod, but I do think it's a bit too difficult in the sense that it changes the monsters to be kind of like almost like boobs in me. If like you're playing them in the wrong level set, it can kind of destroy the intended progression. So
I can dig it, yeah. Well, it has...
how I'm trying to create it right now, I'm not sure if I'll release it publicly because I'm working on the Loom project as well.
Oh, sure.
But I would want to make it in the sense where it can be played with almost any level set. It might not have its own apps unless I make like a community project for it.
Yeah.
But it would be like the intermission and the readme music would be changed out to like blood music, but that would kind of be it. Not sure if it'll be purely vanilla. I think I'd try to be aiming like Doom. Not necessarily in the fact of like changing monsters, but mainly like audio actually.
Well, if you make a dehacked and WAD patch, it should be completely vanilla compatible.
Yeah.
And so as long as it doesn't exceed a certain kilobyte range, but if all you're doing is sprite replacements and altering up the monster AI, then it shouldn't be too crazy.
I use some trickery at the moment to make the shotgunners and the chain gunners sound like the cultists.
Oh yeah.
No, that's not good.
Nice.
Yeah, because they do. I'd like to touch up the sprites a bit because they don't necessarily match the color palette.
Yeah, totally.
And they can be a bit look a bit like incomplete in a sense.
I can dig it. Yeah. I definitely feel like, yeah, it's one thing I really like, and I think you and I talked about this in one of our last videos, was consistency in like the look of our sprites when we play like a build engine or Doom engine kind of game.
Yeah.
Like it means a lot to me when like a Doom game or a build engine game like has a consistently good looking art style, if that makes sense.
I agree, I think. Especially with like Bloom and stuff, I still really love the mod, but somehow some of the sprites are mashed up. They're either done really well or really poorly.
Yeah, no, I hear ya.
Like some of the sprites are like scaled up to match other enemies, and it just looks bad because they're like scaled up in that weird way where like the pixels don't line up exactly, you know?
Oh, sure.
It's not like perfect. Yeah. So I think some touching up would be needed, but some of the sprites are like fantastic in my opinion, like the cultist sprites, for example.
Oh yeah, I love the cultist sprites, and I love their cry too. Um,
Yeah.
do you think you're gonna change? Because I don't know if there's a corollary to like the Hell Knight or the Revenant, if that makes sense. Is there a blood
Uh,
corollary to that, or will you just do some like digital touch up to make them
so
look more blood-ish, so to speak?
so what I'm doing is there's a werewolf Hell Knight or Baron of Hell fusion that I'm using for the Baron.
Oh
And
hell
then the
yeah,
Hell Knight I'm not sure because there's a bloated butcher Hell Knight fusion, but
that could
there's
be cool.
also a bloated butcher chain gunner fusion. So
Nice.
right
Oh
now, what I'm doing is I have the zombie mixed with the zombie man for zombie man. I have the imps. I'm not sure at all because there are some fusions, and I'm not sure if I can use those. They're the cultists with the shotgunners and chain gunners. They're called neo cultists, I think, in the files. Hellhound mixed with the pinky demon. There's the phantasm mixed with the revenant.
yeah,
Gilbeast with um, I think Gilbeast with Mancubus, yeah. And then I
cool.
wanted to mix Chernabog and Icon of Sin as a original kind of thing.
Yeah, sure.
And then there's there's also there's a Cyber Shia, which uses the Shia and Cyber Demon. I'm still looking through the fusions because it adds 55 new monsters.
That's a lot.
And so, yeah, there is a Gargoyle Archvile fusion, and then there is a Zombie Archvile fusion.
Huh.
There's also, but I have 3 Gargoyle fusions already, which is the Acrodemon, the Pain Elemental, and the Lost Soul are all fused with the Gargoyle. Since I'm just taking sprites from the actual like files, um, so I might try to, I guess, balance it out with more enemies. Although I really love the look of the Archvile Gargoyle over the Zombie Archvile
Yeah, totally.
because it has like the cool bat wings or whatever. So
Yeah.
I
No,
did do some sound replacements. Again, I'm not sure if I'll release this, and especially since I started it just so recently, and I have the 30th anniversary project to finish,
oh sure.
or at least in this sense, in the finish of like, I'll get it, I'll get something semi-playable before I do the community project thing.
No, I'm sure you'll do it, and I'll be more than
I
happy to
feel like
playtest it.
once I would say June or July comes, I could focus on the other Doom projects. I've had to like force myself to kind of finish them because I'm very bad at like finishing things.
Oh
Like I
sure.
can get really, really ambitious, and I'm just like, crap. I don't know what to do. Crap, I'm not interested in the more. Crap, I'm just gonna leave it for like a long time.
I think
So I've had to be like,
that's
no,
pretty
brain. I need to do it.
that's pretty common. I think definitely for me, that's the case where it's like it's hard to like self motivate unless I have like a deadline or like a series of deadlines. So I always like try to create those for myself to help with my productivity because like it's definitely
Yeah,
that way because it's like whenever I
especially with Loom getting out there more. I've had to tell my brain like, yeah, it's already out there. You can't just quit now. Everybody will be sad.
yeah, creating some personal accountability is like a good thing to do, all things considered. Also, I'm gonna try
I
that.
mean, if at least if or when I finish Loom, I'll be like, at least I did this
Oh yeah, totally.
for Doom project.
I I think for any creative Klaesick, that's gonna be the case. It's gonna be pretty difficult to like finish your shit. And so don't
I
feel
mean, at
bad.
least I do have until like I'll reveal kind of a deadline around October or November or December. So I have like most of like summer and to like actually do this. So
I think that's why a lot of Doom creators like speed mapping or like got their start in speed mapping. I know that like SL Forsham, Skillsaw, a lot of the kind of like big names in like the modernity scene like got their start doing like speed mapping projects, like 32 and 24. I know Mechadon was really big into like that scene, and so because it kind of forces you to get over your own creative cankers and like make some output. I kind of need to do that myself, in truth, just because it's like, I've been saying for like months now, oh man, I'm gonna make a map someday, and I still have not done it.
And then it's just like, oh, well, it's been 2 weeks and I still haven't done it. I guess I just would, but I still will do it.
Whatever. I'm gonna make a sandwich. No, yeah, it's the struggle, but what do you do? I mean, it's the great thing about it being a hobby is that there is no pressure to like create something. You just do it when you have the spare time.
This isn't like a job, you know?
No. Also, this is a tricky.
If it was my job to make like Doom mods, I probably wouldn't like Doom modding that much.
Oh,
after
sure.
a bit,
I think anything
because the luster kind of wears off once you make your hobby a job.
Yeah, I mean, I've heard countless stories of creatives who like get a career in like their dream position, so to speak, and then they hate it, and it's like, I think, I think just people just put their sense of fulfillment in the wrong things, if that makes sense. And you shouldn't look to any like one thing to give you like fulfillment, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I agree. I would. So hopefully I get moved to, but hopefully people like it. Because I kind of just want to create a fun little project that people will appreciate, rather than.
Oh my god, they're all large.
This is gonna be.
Sorry.
Because I do want to make something really, I guess, artsy fartsy.
Yeah.
For Doom a bit, rather than. But I do think starting out with like more simple kind of shorter maps would kind of help understand the combat dynamics of it,
No, absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, and it's everyone's got to start somewhere, and I don't think you should put any pressure on yourself to make like, Valiant or Back to Saturn X with your first.
Don't try to make the best thing ever. Just try to make something that people will enjoy.
Exactly.
I want to make something that's good, not something that's like kind of a masterpiece.
And even more...
I will admit, I still would really love a calculator, and I would try to aim for that, but if it doesn't happen, then it doesn't happen. I'd be completely accepting of that, because this is just a fun little project. It's not going to be like a masterpiece.
And it's good to shoot for the stars, but make something that you want to see. Make something that you would be passionate about playing, which is what you're doing. And it's a pleasure to be along for the ride and to help you. So it's cool. But yeah, make what you enjoy. Oh, I thought it was a cyber demon.
Make what you enjoy until you get rocketed in the face by a cyber demon.
Yes. Face rocket, coincidence style.
I think
speak
not.
of the devil.
Coincidence?
Did you see that?
I think not. Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Oh yeah, coincidence.
Cyber demon. I think not. Don't burn me.
This little rat is guilty. Oh, it's a great film.
I'm doing a Pixar marathon on a server I'm in, or like not me, but like server host, and we're doing Monsters Inc.
Ooh, hell yeah.
Friday. I haven't seen Monsters Inc. So I have to, or like don't remember Monsters Inc. So let's just be like really cool.
I saw it.
Welcome to the Himalayas.
I saw it in the theater, and I have not seen it since. So, I remember liking it as like a 7-year-old, or however old I was when I saw it. But I don't remember hardly anything about it.
People, I mean, the Toy Stories and the Incredibles and stuff are kind of like hard to beat, but in a sense, I'd say,
Oh, sure. Oh god, I hate these evil Marines. They're awful.
Don't they replace the Rectitrons? I think they replaced the SS, right?
I believe so. I haven't dug into the DHAT file. You probably know more about that than I do.
Yeah.
Oh man, we did it, dude. We beat the waste and industrial episodes. This was an endeavor,
This is
and
indeed. I guess with that, we're kind of gonna end this episode off and probably end our Scythe 2 marathon. We might go back to it in a few months if we do some hard jungle things, but
yeah,
this is our limit with Scythe 2. After this, it's like, okay, we have 500 monsters. Oh, you thought that was bad? We got 600 here. Good luck.
we might go back at some point just for the meme, just to try the Earth episode, which I have been practicing a little bit, but we're definitely not going to do Hell. Number one, because I'm not a big fan of Doom Hell, and that is beyond my skill level at this point. So maybe sometime in the future, but we shall see. Anyway, thanks
So
for...
I hope you all enjoyed Scythe 2 with power guns.
Yeah, Epic 2 to be finished in due time, of course. Y'all take it easy.
See ya.
See you around.